So when I'm done with school, Afam continued with pride in his eyes, I will go back to my village and continue what my father left for me. He leaned in closer, lowering his voice playfully. So, if I finally marry you, that means you will become the queen of my village. They both burst into laughter. A whole queen like me. Natasha teased, gently poking his chest as they laughed again. But there was one thing about Natasha, something very clear and firm. She never released her body to Afam. She never agreed for Afam to sleep with her. I will only lose my virginity to my husband, she said warmly one night as they sat side by side on the couch watching television. At first, Afam didn't mind. He was okay with her decision and even respected her more for it. But as months went on, things began to change. The pressure started building, especially from his so-called friends. Anytime Prince Afam was gisting with them, they always made fun of him. At your age, you still dey fear woman, one of them said, laughing loudly. You no even fit touch your own babe. See make I tell you bro, another added. That girl wey dey do like petrol, another guy dey chop am for back. Prince Afam just sat and stared at the wall as they continued. Just dey here they deceive yourself, a third friend added. Forget that I'm a virgin story. Omo that one no capital lie. How fine girl like Natasha go they tell you say she never do before, and you believe. You be mumu. Another guy who was standing by the door, the worst of them all, leaned forward and dropped a heavy bomb. Oga, if you no want do, just give me permission make I put body. You go see say the girl just dey whine you. She just dey pretend. She no love you. If she love you, she go do wetin you dey tell am. Make she prove am. All of them said it in one voice like they rehearsed it. They were laughing, but Afam wasn't smiling. He was quiet. Their words pierced him through the heart like a sharp knife. That night, Prince Afam couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, thinking deeply. The voices of his friends kept repeating in his head. If she loves you, make she do wetin you dey tell her. You be mumu. She dey whine you. He began to see sense in what they were saying. Or maybe it was the confusion and pride clouding his judgment. Maybe she doesn't love me like I thought, he whispered to himself. Maybe someone else is getting what I'm not getting. His heart was beating fast. I would talk to her, he said calmly to himself. But deep down, he didn't know if it was love speaking or pressure. That night, Prince Afam could not sleep. He sat alone in his room, the air thick with cigarette smoke and confusion. A bottle of alcohol sat half-finished beside him, and his thoughts spun wildly in his head. He couldn't stop hearing his friends' voices, taunting him, pushing him, urging him to find out the truth about Natasha. But deep down, Afam wasn't looking for the truth. He wanted something else. He loved Natasha, or so he believed. But doubt had crept in, and it was eating him alive. She always told him she was a virgin. She always said she wouldn't go that far until marriage. But Afam had started to wonder. Was she really telling the truth? Or had she been deceiving him all along? And worse, what if his friends were right? The next day, Afam and Natasha walked hand in hand through the school garden. It was their usual meeting place. The flowers were in bloom, the sun was warm, but Afam's heart was cold. He was quiet, distant. And Natasha could feel it. She paused. Baby, what's wrong with you today? You've been acting strange since morning. Did I do something wrong? Afam didn't respond right away. He looked down, unsure how to speak the words burning in his chest. After a long silence, he gently grabbed her hand. "Please," he said. "Tell me the truth. Why don't you want to be with me fully? You say you love me, but you won't even sleep over at my house. You keep turning me away. What are you hiding from me? Am I not good enough for you?" Natasha's eyes widened in shock. And then slowly, tears began to roll down her cheeks. "Afam, I've never lied to you," she said through her tears. "I love you. With all my heart. I've never dated anyone else. You're the first person I ever gave my heart to." She paused, her voice trembling. "I made a vow to myself, to God, that I would never give myself to any man until after marriage. Not because I don't love you, but because I want to protect my future. I don't want to get pregnant while I'm still in school. I don't want to disappoint my parents. I just need time. Please." Afam's face grew tight. He raised his voice. "But I've done everything for you. I've supported you, I've paid your bills. And yet you keep pushing me away. Is this love? Or are you just using me?" Natasha tried to explain, but her words felt like air to Afam. His heart was already closed. He turned and walked away. That evening, Natasha sat in her small apartment, alone and in tears. Her heart was shattered. She had opened up to him, trusted him, and now it felt like he had turned into someone she didn't recognize. Meanwhile, Afam was drinking again, this time with his friends at a roadside bar. "She dey play you," James said, downing his beer. "You're spending all your money on her and she can't give you small something. Brothers, take it by force if you have to. That girl belongs to you now." Another friend added, "You've waited too long. Stop begging. Do what a man should do." Afam listened, silently. He didn't speak, but in his heart, a decision was being made. Days passed. Afam ignored Natasha's calls and messages. Natasha grew more worried with each passing hour, not knowing that something dark was already in motion. One evening, Afam sat quietly in his room. He held a cigarette in one hand and a plan in the other. "If she won't give it to me willingly," he muttered, "then I'll take it." But he couldn't do it at home, too risky. And Natasha's apartment. Even worse. Someone might hear. Then he had an idea. The old uncompleted building down the street. That night, Afam bought 2 bottles of soft drink, 1 Coke for himself, 1 Fanta for Natasha. He mixed something into the Fanta. Not poison. But something strong enough to make her weak, to make her vulnerable. At exactly 7 p.m., he sent Natasha a message. "Please meet me. Just for a few minutes. I miss you. I'm at that old building down the road." Natasha, overjoyed, dressed up quickly and left her apartment. She didn't even question the location. She was just happy to hear from him again. When she arrived, the place was quiet and dark. Afam was sitting inside the building, sipping his Coke. At first, Natasha hesitated. The building was old and abandoned. But it was Afam. She trusted him. She stepped inside. Afam smiled faintly and handed her the bottle of Fanta. She took it, smiling, and began to drink as they sat together on a low block. Minutes passed. After a while, Natasha felt a cold object gliding across her skin. Her body was growing weak, and a strange dizziness took over her. The bottle of Fanta she was holding slipped from her hand and rolled away as her eyes struggled to stay open. But something was wrong. The substance Afam had secretly put in her drink didn't knock her out completely as he had expected. Natasha didn't lose consciousness, but her body felt paralyzed. She could see everything, hear everything, but she couldn't lift her arms or legs. She lay there on the floor, helpless. Afam, ignoring all sense of decency or love, moved quickly with wicked intentions. Without speaking a word, he started removing her clothes one by one, showing no sign of remorse or hesitation. Even though Natasha couldn't fight back, her voice was still faint. With tears in her eyes, she begged him to stop. Her words were soft, broken by pain and shock, but Afam ignored her completely. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she stared at the man she once trusted. The pain wasn't just physical, it was emotional. Heartbreaking. Betrayal from someone she once called her lover. And just before her world went black, she whispered one final sentence. "It shall never be well with you, Afam, no woman will ever stay with you in peace." Then she fainted. Afam panicked. Her body was still. Her breathing was slow. And for a moment, he thought she was gone. Without looking back, he ran. He left her lying there, alone. After many hours has passed, Natasha woke up on the cold floor, weak and heartbroken. She managed to drag herself back home, her soul crushed, her trust destroyed. And Afam. He left the city that very morning. Disappeared. Running not just from her, but from what he had become. Days passed, and Natasha slowly began to recover. Her body was healing, but her heart remained broken. She tried calling Afam again and again, but all his phone numbers were switched off. Though she was regaining strength, she still wasn't strong enough to return to classes. The shame weighed too heavily on her. Then, one quiet morning, Natasha sat on the edge of her bed and realized her monthly flow hadn't come. She was pregnant. Fear gripped her chest. She thought about returning to her parents' home, but the thought of her father's anger terrified her. He would never understand. She had brought shame to the family name. Too embarrassed to face the city streets, and unable to find Afam or any of his friends, every number she had was unreachable, Natasha made a decision. She would not tell anyone. She would leave the city and return to her father's village. There, she would wait out the months and give birth quietly. But she made one vow: she would not abort the child. Ironically, Afam's village was only a few miles away from her own father's village. The thought of that became fuel for her spirit. If she could not get justice through the law or by words, maybe one day, destiny would give her a chance. 9 months passed. In the small, quiet compound of her grandmother, Natasha gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. The old woman named her Ebachuku, meaning God's mercy. Years passed. Ebera grew into a stunning young girl. But her beauty was never enough to shield her from the cruelty of the world. Every day, she faced insults. At school. On the playground. Even among relatives. They called her a bastard. A child of no one. A girl without a father. She cried often, burying her face in her pillow, soaking it with tears. Her grandmother would hold her close and whisper, "You have a father, my child. One day, you will meet him." But the words weren't enough. The bullying grew worse. The shame grew heavier. Natasha watched it all in silence. Her daughter was carrying the burden of a pain she didn't deserve. One day, unable to take it anymore, she called Ebra into the house and sat her down. For the first time, Natasha told her everything: how she met Afam, what he did, how he vanished, how she ended up alone. Ebra sat still. Tears rolled down her face. Then she spoke, her voice steady. Even if he's my father, he will never go unpunished. He will feel the pain he made you carry all these years, Mama. I promise you, he will pay. Meanwhile, far away in Afam's village, the young man was no longer so young. He had finished his education and returned home to take up his royal responsibilities. The village elders had waited for him to grow. Now, he was over 30 years old. It was time to crown a new king. But Afam had a secret, one he had never told anyone. Since the day Natasha left his life, something strange began happening to him. No woman could satisfy him, not emotionally, not physically. In school, he had tried to be with different girls, hoping the feeling would return. But nothing helped. Instead, his appetite became more intense, more disturbing. He couldn't go a single day without seeking pleasure. Some nights, he would sleep with 4 different women and still feel empty. It became an addiction. It controlled him. His reputation spread across campus. Girls stayed away. Even his friends avoided him. Afam tried everything. He visited doctors, specialists, clinics. Each time, the test said the same thing, "You're fine." But he knew he wasn't. Something was deeply wrong. Back in the village, the elders were getting impatient. For years, the throne had remained empty, waiting for Prince Afam to become king. But he wouldn't marry. And without a queen, the crown could not be passed. The elders called him, warned him, "If you don't marry soon, the kingship will leave your family forever." The pressure was overwhelming. Afam had no choice. So one morning, he summoned the entire village. Drums echoed. Elders gathered. Young maidens and mothers stood with curiosity. Afam stood before them all and said, "I am ready to choose a wife. But only on one condition. Any maiden who can satisfy me will be my queen. I don't care if she's tall, short, young, or old. The one who fulfills this condition shall sit beside me as the next queen of this great land." The village erupted in joy. Mothers rushed their daughters home, preparing them with herbs, prayers, and charm. The news spread like wildfire, reaching not only their village but even the neighboring communities. And then, the news reached Natasha and Ebra. They looked at each other. This was it. The chance they had been waiting for. The opportunity to strike, not with violence, but with wisdom. But how? How would a mother and daughter rewrite the story of betrayal and shame into one of justice and revenge? They needed a plan. And this time, they would not fail. One afternoon, Natasha was in the village market buying meat when she overheard 2 women whispering about a mysterious old woman who lived deep in the forest, beyond the mountain in a nearby village. They called her a witch, but they also spoke of her strange powers, how she could bring justice when no one else could. Natasha's heart beat faster. This was the kind of help she had been searching for. That evening, she packed a few things and set out on foot into the thick forest, determined to find the woman. After hours of walking, she finally came upon a small, eerie hut covered in charms, bones, and old skulls. Inside, an elderly woman with piercing eyes sat calmly beside a fire. "I've heard your story," the woman said before Natasha could even speak. "People call me wicked, but I only fight for justice. And the wicked shall never go unpunished." Then she handed Natasha a small calabash filled with black powder. "Rub this on your body," she said. "If that man ever touches you, his manhood will wither instantly. He'll never sleep with another woman, never have children, and never recover. No human power can reverse it, not now, not ever." Natasha's hands trembled as she accepted the calabash. A part of her hesitated, but the pain she had carried for 16 years screamed louder. Prince Afam had stolen her life, her dignity, her youth, and he had turned her daughter into a symbol of shame. That night, Natasha sat in her room staring at the calabash, tears streaming down her face. Then her daughter, Ebra, walked in. "I want to help you, Mom," she said through sobs. "You don't need to face that monster again. I will do it. I will make him pay for what he did to you, and for all the hurt I've carried too. Even if he's my father, he doesn't deserve peace." Mother and daughter hugged tightly, both crying, united by pain and now by purpose. The next day, Ebra prepared herself. She followed the old woman's instructions, rubbing the powder all over her body. Then she kissed her mother goodbye and headed to the palace. When she arrived, the guards at the gate burst into laughter. "Who sent this small girl?" one mocked. "Go home before we flog you," another threatened. "Is this a joke? Do you want to die?" a third guard sneered. But Ebra stood her ground. "I want to see the prince," she said firmly. The guards continued shouting until Prince Afam himself stepped out of his chamber, dressed in regal attire, his golden crown gleaming under the sun. "What is this noise?" he asked. "Who is this child?" "She insists on being part of the trial, Your Highness," one of the guards replied nervously. Afam laughed. "Does she think this is some school play? Someone take her away." But Ebra stepped forward boldly. "Do not underestimate the strength of a woman," she declared. "Give me one chance. If I fail, take my life." Afam paused, surprised by her courage. "You're just a girl. You sound far older than your age. Do you understand what you're asking for?" "I do," she replied. "Let me prove myself." Intrigued, Afam agreed. "All right then. You want to die? So be it. Follow me." He led her into his private chamber. Outside, the guards whispered, waiting for screams. They expected to carry her lifeless body out in a few minutes. But minutes passed. Then an hour. Then 2. Nothing. Inside, Prince Afam was panicking. The moment he touched Ebra, a strange cold ran through his body. Then suddenly, his manhood stopped responding. He tried everything, but it was as if that part of him no longer existed. He stared at his body in shock, trembling. He ran out of his chamber half-dressed, calling for help. The guards and villagers gathered around, stunned. Then Ebra stepped forward and faced him. "Tell them what you did to my mother 16 years ago," she said. And under the weight of shame and fear, Prince Afam broke down. He confessed how he had raped Natasha years ago and abandoned her, believing she would die. How he never looked back. How he had lived a cursed life ever since. The villagers gasped. The truth hit them like thunder. Ebra looked him straight in the eyes. "That woman you left to die is my mother. And I am your daughter." There was silence. The weight of his sin hung heavy in the air. Days later, the village elders gathered to decide Afam's fate. Their verdict was final: Prince Afam would never be crowned king. He had shamed the throne and harmed an innocent woman. His royal title was stripped forever, not just from him, but from his bloodline. And then came the final blow. Prince Afam was banished from the village for life. Never again would he walk the paths of the palace. Never again would he wear the crown. The name he once carried with pride would now be remembered with disgrace. As for Natasha and Ebra, they finally had their peace. Thank you so much for watching till the end of this powerful and emotional story. If you enjoyed it, please like this video, share it with your friends, and don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. We would love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on more interesting, suspense-filled stories like this one. See you in the next video.